Hello and welcome to the continuation of the Pathfinder Ultimate Guide series. Thanks to some of you showing some engagement, I am going to continue this guide till the end of Act 2 and the beginning of Act 3. Where we last left off, we finally hit the world map, and it is a rather big fella, as you can see here. And the map of Act 2 takes place alongside this river until about you reach Dresden up here. Let's quickly have a summary of our characters. Here we have Draken. He's now wielding his new electric facade, meaning Draken is finally going to be able to do some good work. Don't worry about the specifics of equipment, as they will be changed as I get better items. The most important items are in fact the facade here, the tankard of the free spirit, the covenant of the inheritor, and the house of Vespertilio, all of which can be found rather easily if you follow this guide. Here we have Sela. She's currently wielding a breastplate of vigor, which gives her a bit of a boost to her constitution modifier, as well as some nice little items of protection here. Since we reached level 6, she also has 2 attacks now, since she has full basic attack bonus or BAB progression. She's joined by her horse Bucephalus, who we will be leveling up when we receive our first int helmet, as well as all of the other pets, Rex here, and our newly dog Lizzie with Sosiel here. Currently, though, they are rather weak, but they are still wielding a somewhat decent armor class that can be better in actual combat. Next up, we have Camellia, who I'm building as a dual-wielding rapier user, but currently she doesn't really have the feats or the basic attack bonus to make this work. As you can see, it's only a +6 with some rather weak damage output. Don't worry though, if I put her on a pet or anything else, this can increase drastically as I level up. Her main function right now is to provide these buffs here for level 1, for level 2, and for level 3 spells. And she will get more spells quite soon at level 7, which we are rather close to reaching. Next we have Lan, our Ranger Demon Slayer. He's equipped with some little bonuses to his bow, and as you can see, he can attack 3 times in a round, quite decent this early on in the game. And he's level 5 in Demon Slayer, which has netted him a pet, Rex, which we will level up with the Ent headband once we get one of those. And he also have 2 of these favored enemies against all of the demons, meaning we get a +4 against attack and damage rolls against all of the demons, which we will face more of them as we continue this guide and the game in general. Next up we have Ember. Don't worry about her equipment, as she will be buffed with mage armor. That's not the important part though. The important part are her spells, which we have gotten more of, as well as Draken and Camellia here. She can now, at level 5, use Burning Arc and Scorching Ray, and I have also gotten them heightened with the meta magic down here, which we talked about in episode 9, I believe. Her main function right now is her hexes and these burning spells, or these fire spells rather. Also the delay poison communal. And finally, our new hire, Sosiel, a cleric. That don't worry, these spells upon 1, 2, and 3 will all be different. But right now, he is a rather good unit since we have chosen Animal Domain as our first mythical ability. He also comes with a pet here. This episode we will face off against these 2 locations here, Martyr Zacharias' Cemetery and the Houndheart Campsite, both of which are companion quests. One of them, the Zacharias' Cemetery, is Sosiel's, which we will visit first, And the next is the Hound Heart campsite, which is Sela's companion quest. Before we do any of that with the party, you might see it's currently 1 a.m. or close to 2 p.m. And we will use our armies as our first major progression in this campaign. We will move up with Setsunashai and his army that we bought from Erebeth last episode. We will transfer these footmen over here. If you press Control and or Shift and left click on the footmen like so, they will be split into two groups, and you can position your army like so. Since our archers and Scorching Ray is gonna be our damage output, the healers are gonna be, well, healers, and our footmen are gonna be tanky or squishy little things that take up damage and time so our archers and Scorching Ray can do the major damage. Archers in the overall Crusader mode is generally considered the better units as they dish out a lot of damage, at least early on. With all that being said, we can now see our shield here is level 4. This means that the power of the units in the army is equal to the power level of the shield here. As you can see, the enemies in here are 15 little cultists and 5 other cultist looking things, and they only have a power level of 1. If your army or armies have at least 2 level disparity, so level 3 and above for level 1s, you will be able to auto-complete the combat, so you don't have to waste your time in the actual combat. For the sake of this guide though, I will showcase at least the first battle, and from then on I will auto-complete any battles I can that do not give me the opportunity to auto-complete them. Finally, before we move our Crusader army, we want to focus on this button down here, the Recruit tab. If you click this button here, you can recruit more soldiers. They will replenish each week, and once we get some outpost in Act 3, you can build buildings that will make them replenish faster. As of right now, I will not buy these archers or footmen, but I will probably come back and buy them once I've taken care of these initial demon armies here. The reason I'm doing this demon armies right now is that every day at midnight, the movement here, 31 here, refreshes up to 40, and you can then move them again. Meaning to get the maximum distance and effectiveness out of the army here, I will move them almost immediately upon day 1 here, which is at 2 p.m., before I move my main guys down to the Zacharias Cemetery. Since world map travel takes a while, that is why I'm using the Army tab first. Without further ado, let's go and take care of these demon armies up here then, shall we? And here is the button I was telling you about. Let them flee here. The enemies are retreating, pursue them or fight. If I pursue them, I will go into a little mini game, if you can call it that. That is rather tedious, at least if you've done it multiple times, and I'm sure you will find it tedious if at the end of the game. But I will showcase at least the first of it to showcase the strategies and the perks of splitting up your footmen like this. This is only possible since Setsuna Shai has the Master of Maneuver feat, which allows him to have 4 different units or 4 stacks of independent units in his army. Right, there are a few things we want to go over in this screen. One of them, first of all, being this button down here, Combat Acceleration. Always have this on, it'll just speed up the animations. And in theory, you also have the Auto Battler. I won't enable this for this fight. Actually, I might after I've gone through it, but this is if you are certain that you will win otherwise. See, right now, the archers are the first up moving, and next it'll be these cultist fighters. So I will take my archers and shoot them, which you can see here. The top indicator shows how much health I take or the deal which is between 175 and 321, and I kill 1 to 3 of their units. So if I left click here, I fire a shot, they move up, and they move quick because the combat acceleration is on. But for these fights, you will want to use Scorching Ray and your archers, while your frontline or healers can just click this button until they are within reach. Do not use the Scorching Rays on these beginning fights here, as they will take your energy points away from you, which you will want to keep for the more quote-unquote tough fights, which we will probably showcase either in this episode or the next one. You can either click space on your keyboard or just this button down here, Total Defense, like so. And they move up. I can now take another shot with my archers. And I will now simply enable this auto battle function here. Notice this little yellow bar here, the infirmary size. The infirmary replenishes an army's losses after a battle by the number of value points equal to its size. Effectively, as long as this bar isn't yellowed or completely filled up, you will not lose any of your people after the fight has completed. So if I click this auto battle function here, they will do their thing, and you can see the yellow bar is slightly moving up. But since it didn't fill up, my losses were 2 footmen, but my 2 footmen were replenished in the infirmary. I also gained 135 experience out of the 1000 required to level up General Setsuna Shai. Note the infirmary function is only available if you have assigned a general to your army, and for the first army at least I prefer assigning Setsuna Shai because he has some nice bonuses which we will go over shortly. Sometimes you will also find some nice things. Having defeated a band of blah 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 blah. Resources found, finance points 600. These can be found up here in this button here at the top left corner of your screen. Here you have 4 stats that you can increase at level or in Act 3 when you are in command of Dresden. And here are the different points that you will spend during your campaign. Finance points are your quote-unquote money, and right now I'm making 200 per day, but as I complete some of these quests here, or fights in general, I might be able to make some more money, if I can find an example of this. Yeah, daily income here. Daily income, if I defeat this fight here, my daily income of finance points will increase from 200 up to 300. So keep an eye out of any of these additional things here, as well as this additional experience, but also just what you can get in terms of daily things. The earlier you get them, the longer you can benefit from them, of course. Since I just got some more finance points, I will hire some more guys, but to showcase what Setsuna Shai does and why he's amazing, two of those reasons are as follows. The Master of Maneuver feat, which gives him this thing here, which allows 4 different units, and Scorching Ray. He's also a mage, which means he's going to learn more powerful mage spells, such as Fireball and Firestorm. Let's hire some more guys. And here we are. I am now broke, as you can see up here. Don't worry, this will replenish. And if you really don't like being broke, you can just buy resources with your money, like so, for example. If I trade in 15,000 of my money, I can get 3,000 finance points. For now, I highly recommend you do not do this, because the money, at least at this point in this game, is way more valuable than the finance points. With this new Crusader army, I will move them up to where Setsuna Shai is, like so. And if I combine them, the main army will have 9 movement instead of 11, so do be careful about that. You can also technically rename your armies like I've done here, but there's no effect to this, but it's more of a convenience to make sure if you have any powerful armies and where they are. I can reach these enemies up here, and since I am higher level than them by at least 2, I can just let them flee. This gives me the experience up front, and as you can see, I lose nothing. So we'll just click accept, and I also get some more finance points. Upon dealing with these crusade or demons here, I also get some rangers, as you can see down here, as well as some experience for defeating the enemies. Right, with all of my movement spent for my replenishments and Setsuna's army himself, and these guys will just stay still for the moment, I will now go over to the party banner. Here is a perfect example of traveling on the world map taking a long time. Just from this camp here down to the Zacharias cemetery, that took 3 hours. So as you can see, this little distance right here takes 3 hours one way, which is quite a long time. Now though, we arrive at Zacharias' cemetery, and this is Sosiel's companion quest. If we click our journal log here and toggle these quests away again, we can now see that we are doing this quest here, a farewell. Accompany Sosiel to the martyrs Zacharias' cemetery. If you do not see this quest in the journal, this is because this is related to Ulbrich or the DLC Last of the Zacharians, since he is a DLC companion. And this quest right here is the one we'll do alongside or after Social's quest. Visit the abandoned Hound Hearts camp, which is Sila's quest. There are a few dialogue options which are alignment focused. You can either say nothing or click any of these options here. I will just take the good option. And at some point, a citizen will notice that a zombie is rising from the ground, and we will have to deal with the cemetery being filled with zombies. Who would have thought? A cemetery with dead people. Before we do any of the combat, which I will skip, since we chose the closest to the abyss with Draken here, we now have a magic gore attack, which is considered magic weapon, cold iron, good aligned, finesse wielding. Cold iron and good aligned comes from the Covenant of the Inheritor button down here, and since it's an aura, everyone in a 30-foot area will be affected by it, so it's rather good. So Draken now has 3 different attacks per turn, one with his Facade, one with his Gore attack, and one with his Bite attack from being a Tiefling Clip-Off spawn. If you do happen to find this combat difficult with all of these zombies coming both from the north and the south, you could theoretically use this ability here, channel positive energy, damage undead. However, if you hadn't already figured it out, there are gonna be a lot of undead since it's a cemetery, and the undead will increase in strength, quote, a little bit. So saving these for the future will be quite beneficial. With the combat complete, we gain a nice sword or a nice injection of experience, 264 plus the combat itself, and we can empathize with Social by saying I'm sorry you had to go through this. This is the formation I'm running with right now, but it will slightly change once I can mount these pups here with Lan and Social. I will, however, mount Sela on Bucephalus like so, and make sure Bucephalus is fighting defensively. Make sure to just pick up the Masterwork Scimitars as they are worth around about 100 gold, but you can leave the heavy shields. Once you go up here, you will notice there's somebody calling for our help, and there's also a trickery check to let them out. Make sure you click I hate to break it to you, but you are actually dead for the most benefits out of this. You can ask her a couple of questions here, and you can now lay the undead to rest. And Social will walk up and cure light wounds her. We get a golden chain with diamonds with quite a significant chunk of cash. In this little graveyard here, you have some more valuables of different quantities. Just pick them up and return. And you can now move on. If we rotate our camera and just click this button here to open the door, We are now in the cemetery proper, and you will find along the way a couple of zombie lords, one in here, one over there as seen, and a couple up here as well. Let's have a brief showcase of what our guys are capable of. Once I click on pause, our guy should either move up or charge, and we can see what happens to these zombie lords here. As you can see, there's 3 of them here and another 3 here, and there's also one more in this little side alley threatening a noble. And a couple more over here as well. Don't worry about the pets going down, they are rather weak since we want to keep them super underleveled, as to not waste any feats before we get the int or the intelligence boosting headband. Even if they were to die the next time you rest, they will just come back as if nothing happened. And as you can see, they get rather destroyed, 15, 8 and 16, and they fall in quite quick succession here. Sosiel will after the combat move up and say that there are a couple of enemies waiting for us up here. They look rather tough, as you can see. But he also points out that there's an alternative entrance by climbing up these little rickety-dickety ladders and circumventing the enemies from the side. Make sure to loot all of the chests in this area. Let's make another imaginary line. If you move past this line here, you will trigger this combat up here, and the main enemy slash enemies inside this church here will be alerted so you can't surprise them. If you are playing on the harder difficulties, I will recommend you going up these ladders here and circumventing the enemies over here. But if you're playing on the lower difficulties, feel free to do whatever. The only real difference is that if you go past this church here and flank them from the side, the enemies out here will be gone. So you will lose out on some potential experience. I think for the sake of showing or doing something slightly different than what I usually do, I will face off against these enemies over here. As you can see, there are quite a lot of enemies. Focus on the archers, if you can, of course, with LAN and so on, before focusing on the main group of enemies. Here we see Draken's Shock Miflfroshard finally paying off here. A crit dealing 35 damage, 30 plus 5 equals 35. It's a 2d10, so 20, possible plus 9 times 2 equals 30 slashing, so he rolled quite high. Then there's also the electricity, but these enemies here are immune to it, so it doesn't really matter that much. Actually, it does. They aren't immune, so they do take damage from the electricity. That's my bad. Once you have dealt with these enemies here, you can theoretically either go through the front door or still get the experience from going out over to the right here. So I will go over to the right to get the experience. Remember, you can go back and forth to maximize your experience from these skill checks. After siphoning as much experience and the overall fights in this area, we are quite rapidly approaching level 7, which we should be able to hit after this little main fight down here. If you take the church way, Sosiel will move down and try and deal with a couple of enemies and use his little channel positive or undead damage. Once the fight begins, the Necromancer here is your highest priority since you can cast a couple of annoying spells, but otherwise just make sure you take care of the archers and everyone else, and this fight should end quite quickly. No matter what you do, they will flank you from the door here, so keep that in mind. You can either sentence the Necromancer to death or let him go. I can't remember for the life of me if there's any consequences to this. I don't believe so, but on his body there is some small little loot and perhaps some enchanted stuff. It really depends on what you want to do. But I believe for the best ending for Sosiel, you want to say stop. It's not worth breaking your goddess's vows because of filth like him. You'll get a little scroll, but you will lose out on any potential loot that this guy has. If I can find what he has, I will show it on screen now, around here. But I'll just send him off to prison. Before you exit the location, you might want to revisit the church, as the loot bags will not be looted, so any potential masterwork or stuff on the necromancer if you killed him will still be on him. Alright, as you can see, we also hit level 7, so we will briefly go over those. Draken becomes very good here. He gets another level of Inspire Competence, so it's now a +2 to all skill checks if you click that button. And more importantly, his bardic performances, aka his songs, of either Fascinate, um, Inspire Competence, and Courage will be a move action instead of a standard action. So if you're playing in turn-based, you can move and then still attack in the same turn instead of only using your songs. As for his skills, quite straightforward. All of the knowledge and lore checks and any spare ones you might have go into persuasion. His feat, since he now has a melee weapon, will be outflank, and you will want this on all of your melee characters. So potentially your main character, if he is melee, Sealer, any pets, but they will have to have an intelligence score of 3, which is why we're saving that. Camellia, if you're building her as a melee character, and of course any other melee characters. As for level 1 spells, it doesn't really matter too much, but Hideous Laughter is always nice to have. Level 3 spells, however, is the good stuff. I I like getting Good Hope and Haste. Haste is good if you don't have Nenio on your team. Since Draken is a spontaneous caster, he can cast Haste as many times as he wants. And Good Hope is just a good spell because it gives you morale bonus, something that is easily or quite unique and also stackable with all your other buffs to saving throws, attack rolls, ability checks, and skill checks, and also damage rolls. So basically a +2 to absolutely everything. And it's quite a large burst area as well. Here we have the level 7 for Draken here. His Inspire Competence gets slightly better. Bardic performances, aka his songs, are now a move action. He gets Outflank, and he also gets some nice spells. As for Sealer, she gets an additional use of Smite Evil, so she should now have at least 3. As for her skill levels or skills, Knowledge World for cooking, Perception for spotting stuff, and use Magic Device if she wants to use any scrolls or spells from scrolls or wands, etc. You could, in theory, go Selective Channel with your Paladin for channel positive energy, as if you do use this on your Paladin without Selective Channel, you will heal all living creatures, including enemies, so do be warned, but I prefer getting Outflank. We can now read about Outflank. Whenever you and an ally, so Draken and Sealer now has this, are flanking the same creature, your flanking bonus increases to +4. In addition, whenever you score a critical hit against a flank creature, it provokes an attack of opportunity from your ally. So you get more chance to hit, and you also get a free attack. What's not to like about Outflank? She also gets level 2 Paladin spells here. Keep those in mind. Some of them are quite nice. Potential spells for Paladin level 2 include all of these stat boosting spells as we've gone over multiple times. Effortless armor. Protection from alignment is also good. Blessing of courage and life is decent, but I will go with effortless armor. If I have this on my sealer, it will remove the penalty to my speed and also the armor check penalty. meaning, or not remove the armor check penalty, but it will lessen it by 1 per 5 caster levels. And since I'm only caster level 4, it'll be 1 right now. So I will, if I have this on, I will lose the -10 from my half plate or the heavy armor in general. So my base speed becomes 30, and my armor check penalty of 6 becomes 5 instead. So in theory, you could make it easier for her to use your skills that are affected by that, aka your stealth, trickery, mobility, and athletics. Personally, I'm not gonna use Camellia too much longer, but if you were, and following this build of making her into a Stappy McGee with 2 rapiers, you can level up her Spirit Hunter again and get Outflank. Also, Perception and Trickery is always nice on her. And there we are, Outflank, since she's gonna eventually, if you want to keep her in your party, be on the front lines with 2 little rapiers and potentially even on a pet of some sort. So these will stack or give the abilities to them, and she will be even better at hitting stuff. We also get level 4 shaman spells, as you can see here. Put in Thornbody as your spirit magic slot, since it's the only one available right now. And let's go over shaman spells of 4th level that are quite nice to have. Divine Power here gives you an extra attack. Do be notified, though, that this extra attack will not stack with any effects from haste or weapons of speed, which is an effect that gives you an additional attack, but it will give you the other bonuses, the +1 lock bonus on attack, weapon damage, and strength checks, as well as 1 temporary hit point per caster level. Since my caster level is 7 right now, that's 7 temporary hit points. False Life Greater is a great spell that can be stacked with the regular False Life, so it'll function as even more temporary hit points. Here we gain temporary hit points equal to 2d20 or 2d10, so maximum of 10, plus 1 point per caster level, which was 7, up to a maximum of 20. So you can get 40 temporary hit points from one spell right here at maximum level of 20 if you roll the 2d10 at the max as well. But you will most likely get around 20 to 35-ish normally. Though, as mentioned, it can stack with the second level, the False Life here, which will also give you another 1d10 plus 1 from caster level. Since I slowly want to integrate her into the combat, now with Outflank as well, I will give her 1 source of False Life Greater. Now why oh why am I going Outflank with Lan, who's a range character, instead of Snapshot? That does theoretically the same thing. Since I will eventually get a +2 int band for my dogs and pets in general, the Outflank can also be put on my pets thereby, and since I'm also gonna mount Lan on my dog or wolf, he will be up close and personal, so Outflank will stack with his dog and all of these other people as well to get the bonus to attack rolls. As to not get hit in combat with attacks of opportunity once that happens, we will get Point Blank Master and Longbow. Choose one type of ranged weapon. You do not provoke attacks of opportunity when firing the selected weapon while threatened. And you are threatened if you are in a enemy's zone of control or engaged with an enemy and are firing a bow normally. So we can now use a bow up close and personal without getting hit back in the face whenever we shoot, which will stack nicely when we finally get Lan on Rex, our wolf. And here's Ember. We will give her Stigmatized Witch level 7, which will also unlock some lovely level 3. The answer is simple, since it's a prerequisite to have at least 1 skill focus in either Knowledge World or Arcana, which we will get here, for the Lore Master Prestige class. Prestige classes are something we haven't talked about, but some of them are exceptionally powerful. Lawmaster here allows you to get some additional feats and something called secrets, which give you any spells from the druid or whatever spell list you can imagine. So cleric, druid, rogue secrets as well, wizard spell lists, wizard feats, and regular combat feats. And don't worry, even if you click the Lawmaster, you will not lose spell progression on your main caster, since you can select a class that they belong to before this prestige class to continue the spellbook progression. So I will, of course, with my Lawmaster at level 8, select the Witch spellbook. As for her spells, her new level 1 spell, Unbreakable Heart, is going to be useful for removing confusion, which is going to be useful for a specific annoying area in the future. False Life for added sense of security and defense, and Heroism to lessen the strain on Dragon's heroism, so he can use more different level 2 spells, or level 3 spells rather, aka more Good Hopes, and so on. Here she is then. She gets knowledge world, skill focused knowledge world, so she's prepared for Lawmaster at level 8. And here we have Sosiel then. He will increase all of his law, or what's already boosted basically, so law, religion, perception, and persuasion. And he will also get outflank. Why? Well, he's also going to be put on a pet, and he's going to be swinging with a glaive or the like if he's not casting spells in combat. So here we are then. 5 of our characters without our pets, which is going to be 8, will have outflank at level 7. A bit of a boring level up considering we basically only picked outflank, but trust me, the effects far from bad. They are exceptionally good to have on all of your melee characters. We also get some new spells, some level 4 spells of the Cleric spellbook. Here we are then. And we will now change around all of Sosiel's spells from level 1 to level 4. Give me a moment. And I am back with his newly outfitted spellbook. We have given him 4 uses of Shield of Faith, which we will put on Draken, our pets, potentially even Lan, Divine Favor for himself so he can hit better, and True Strike so he can get a pretty much guaranteed hit. As for his level 2 spells, I've gone with Protection from Alignment as his little spirit or domains slot, and 4 uses of Aid so we can give a nice boost to attack rolls and saves, and also plus temporary hit points equal to 1d8, so up to 8 plus 7, so a maximum of 15 to stack temporary hit points. As for his level 3 spells, 2 uses of prayer and 2 uses of magical vestment. Magical vestment is gonna go on our heavily armored characters, or just Seela and my main character for safety, which will give them more AC bonus or enhancement bonus, aka AC, for armor. And prayer is an overall good spell since it gives us a +1 bonus to all things and -1 penalty on all such rolls for the enemies in a 40-foot burst area, so quite a large area. As for his level 4 spells, protection from energy communal is going to be nice, as his other options weren't really that good. Divine power, as we've already gone over, and Crusader's Edge, which if we face off against evil outsiders, we will do a lot of damage, but also have a chance to nauseate them for 6 to 18 seconds if we critical hit them. That sums up the level ups, and we can now head out. Since we're actually already reaching 45 minutes, I will not be going over the Hound Heart camp, but I will just take all of the loot from here, don't worry. I am going to be back in my main camp soon, so I can go over to medium encumbrance limit. I'll now move back towards this camp. The camps will move as we take these little forts, so if I take this fort here, our camp will move from all the way down here to all the way up here, meaning I do want to slightly save this demon fortress for after I've dealt with this Hound Heart campsite. That means my camp will be moved closer to the front lines when I'm more around ready to leave this back area, which we will undergo next episode. Let's go up to Wilsagams and sell our garbage for the day, and I will also do a quick run through of the camp to get all of these little yellow loot containers which refreshed upon talking to Queen Golfrey in the last episode. Remember to check out the chapel for the glowing croissant recipe, like so. With all of our garbage picked up and ready to be sold, we can now talk to the blacksmith instead of Wilsagams, since I don't want to clutter up Wilsagams' inventory too much with all of this garbage. So let's talk to the blacksmith here and just click bulk selling like so. We should make a decent buck, and remember you can sell any of these weapons that you don't think you want to use for an extra injection of cash. This blacksmith will generally only sell some basic, very low level gear, all of them being cold iron or masterworks of different weapon types, aka complete garbage unless you don't have any weapons that aren't filled with these rolls, but if you have the Covenant of the Inheritor, all of these weapons should already be cold iron and good aligned. So there's no point in not selling all of this garbage to him so we don't clutter up Wilsagams' inventory. The reason why we don't want to do that is because our friend Wilsagams will travel through almost the entirety of the game with us, and he will be our quote-unquote main merchant for a little while. With all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in episode 12 of our continued guide. Bye bye for now.